Let her go, Jim. He's dead.
You're back. This is Improv Autopsy. I'm Stephen Cadwell. This is part 2 of my interview with improviser, actor, podcaster, storyteller, amateur plumber, inventor, and all-around fascinating individual Dean Haglund. Check him out at deanandphil.substack.com, link in the show notes, if you're looking for another enjoyable listen, perhaps an even more enjoyable listen. But don't miss this, part 2 of Dean Haglund's Improv Autopsy. I know you said you do a one-man improvised X-Files.
Yes.
Do you have a home theater right now?
No, I was with Go Comedy Theater before the pandemic, but then that guy left. And then a lot of those people performing really needed that $50 a show or whatever. And so I felt guilty going, hey, kid, I know you're trying to learn, but hey, I'm coming here, blah, 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 like all that. So I didn't pursue it as much. And then there, like you said, there's community theaters around here, but I think I would run into that frustration you're feeling of people making choices in different training backgrounds and stuff like that. But I do, and I kind of retired the show because to be the old guy going, hey, I was in the show in the 90s and now we're going to do a scene, like that seemed wrong. But what I used to do was I do a one-man episode of The X-Files, basically. And I do it in comedy clubs around the world and did Edinburgh Fringe and did the West End and played in Tel Aviv, like everywhere. Bangkok, I did Bangkok. There's an English comedy theater in Bangkok, believe it or not. And basically this started because I was doing two-man improv in some of the roughest bars in northern British Columbia, with mining towns and loggers and natural gas workers in mile 70 on the Alaska Highway. Then they would be drunk out of their heads because there was nothing else to do. And me and Roman Danilo would book, I don't know who the idiot was booking these clubs. And they're not clubs, they're bars. So this was like two-man improv, bar prov, right? And they would have stand-ups in there. So the bouncer would come to us and go, okay, so what's the code word for throwing a guy out? I go, excuse me? You say a word on stage, we look for the drunk and we throw him out. No. Well, what we do is we get the drunk guys on stage and have them perform with us. And they're like, what? Well, yeah, you can kind of shut them up when the lights are on them. Most people have some sort of stage fright. So if they're drunk, they can still realize they're standing under bright spotlights and they can hear people laughing at them. And that sort of alters their belligerence enough that you can control them. And then said, so what we developed was if a guy was super drunk and just almost violent, we say, oh, sir, join us on stage. And then one of us would do a scene with him while the other one would go get the bouncer. Okay, that guy's a problem. As soon as they're finished that scene, go. And because the bouncers wouldn't watch. Once they knew we were getting people to shout out suggestions and stuff like that, they said, oh, they don't care about hecklers. They're encouraging it. So, well, we get a night off. And they would go and sit at the bar and not even pay attention to the show, right? So we would get laughs. And then I developed the ability to do about 4 games that you could do with the drunkest human person on earth, still get laughs, and get that guy off stage safely and out the door. And so when I was asked to do my first X-Files convention, I was with Roman. And I said, I don't watch the show. I'm performing every Friday night. And they said, you got a 45-minute window of time on stage to do whatever you want. And that was the idea of doing Q&A, right? And I thought, oh, they're going to ask me in episode 6, you did that thing. And I go, I haven't seen episode 6 yet. And it would just be a very quiet 45 minutes. So Roman says, well, why don't you do the 4 games that we do with drunk people and just string them together as a narrative? So do audience sound effects, because you can do a one-man audience sound effects, right? That guy is sitting down, just going like whatever, and you're justifying any sound that he makes. Because that could be the teaser to the X-Files, because there's always a teaser before the opening credits where something weird happens and there's an alien and whatever. And then he said, well, and then there's a government conspiracy. So you can do arms. You have a lab coat and you cut out the shoulders, and then you have somebody come in and do the arms, and you're like a government scientist trying to cover up this animal attack or alien attack or whatever had happened. And then you can like have them pull out the report from the pocket and, all sorts of stuff. That's 10 minutes right there. And then he says, and then we have them write sentences. Like we have hand out little pieces of paper and people write sentences. And it was always, you're an idiot, fuck you. Like it was just vulgar how terrible it was. But we would collect them all and then reframe it. And he goes, well, that could be a scene in the Lone Gunman office. You put the glasses on and then you have someone come play Mulder and Langley realize that there's a cover up going on, that the aliens are real, that you are the one that's going to solve it because you, Mulder, are useless. Because clearly, and then you can open up a line. And so you tell Mulder he's an idiot, and I'm going to save the day. And then he said, close with moving people. You just have somebody move your body around while you're on stage and you're fighting the alien somewhere, and you save the day killing the alien by peeing on him or whatever. Every moving people ends with you taking a whiz somehow. I don't know why. It's the weirdest thing. But yeah. And so I went, that's a great idea. So I was flown to Fresno, California, my very first sci-fi convention. And I go, don't know how this is going to fly. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to improvise an episode of The X-Files never seen before. And I need you, sir. Because often I pick people who aren't looking. Because if they're super shy, they're going to be least problematic. I go, you, sir, come up on stage. And the woman beside him going, no. And he's looking down. I go, yeah, come on. See, I wear a wireless mic. I had them give me a wireless mic because I'm moving all over the stage. So I can come off the stage and I come down and I see he has a seeing eye dog. He's blind. It's like, oh, I shouldn't bring him up on stage. I meant the guy behind you. You, sir. I was pointing at you the whole time. Oh, well, me. Oh, sorry. And so he comes up and the 45 minutes kills. And all the executives from Fox had come to this convention because it was the first time seeing the Canadians that they cast in person in Fresno. So they had come. So I met basically all these executives and people who worked at the production offices in Los Angeles. And we went out for dinner. And they asked me basically all the questions you asked me. Where'd you go to school? How'd you learn this? What do you do? How does this work? And I said, man, I could do this show in the drunkest of bars. And I did a 16,000 seat theater. I did halftime at a basketball game, did improv. And they did, what? Yeah, it killed. It was like to hear a laughter of 16,000 people. And while you're in half court and there's a couple cameras like putting it up on the Jumbotron, it's like the weirdest experience ever. So I said, yeah, I can do the whole gamut. And they went, can you come to a couple of TSAs, the Television Critics Association, TCA? I go, yeah. Great, we'll fly you down. Can you do the show there? I go, yeah. So then once they saw that they could promote the X-Files with this comedy show, then once they did the X-Files Expo, which was a touring of props and wardrobe and stuff that Fox did, they had me do every one of them. And so I was flown to 10 cities first class and gorgeous hotels and unlimited food budgets. And it was like spectacular rock star stuff. And it all came from the fact that I had worked with the worst drunks in northern British Columbia.
Drunks, rabid fans. There seems to be a Venn diagram.
Oh my God. Yeah, they're about the same. They're about the same energy. Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. There were some rough ones up there too. I did a show for natural gas workers, and it wasn't with Rowan, it was a female improviser who was brilliant named Christine Lipa. And we flew in a little turboprop in the winter, shaking all over the place in a blizzard. We land on what is supposedly an airport, but it looks like the prison from THX 1138, just all white, infinity white, right? And we walked down the steps. And we got our little our bag, because we're only there overnight. And a car comes out of the snowstorm to us. And a guy gets out and goes, hey, are you the comedy show tonight? We go, yeah. Come on in. He's drunk. He's drunk out of his head at 3 p.m. And he's the organizer. He's the organizer of entertainment for natural gas workers. So in the summer, they do golfing tournaments. And in the winter, it's curling tournaments. Says, come to the curling rink, man. We're all playing a game. So instead of getting to our hotel after that hair-raising flight, we have to go sit and talk to these guys in the curling rink about what they do. And they say, oh, yeah, it's going to be great tonight. It's about 300 of us. It's going to be like huge roast beef dinner, and the food's going to be amazing, and the drinks are free. And then you guys will be the main show, right? It's like, oh, great. Okay. And his name was Dave. I'm like, okay, Dave, can we get to our hotel? Oh, yeah. Let me just finish my beer. Okay, let's go. Jesus. Oh, my God. So we get there and we hang out till showtime. And we come down, and sure enough, the room only seats 250, and there's 300 people there. So they've crammed them in. And then the hotel also heard only 250 people. So they ran out of food. So 50 guys in the back have just been drinking since the curling and then starting at noon. So they're it's so drunk. Everybody's so drunk. And we're introduced with, okay, these next guys are supposed to be funny, but if they're not, they said the girl would take her shirt off. Like, oh my God. Yay! Here they are, Dean and Christine. And we do word at a time, right? One day I went to a mall and we know Dave. Everybody knows Dave, the organizer, right? So we said, and there I saw Dave. And huge laugh. And Dave is laughing the hardest. And he laughs so hard, he takes his coffee cup that's full of water or perhaps straight gin and chucks it at us. Throws it right. And I miss my head and it hits the soundboard and all the electrical sparks fly out and all this electrical shit. And he's on our side. He booked us. And then it just went on from there. And it was just, we did 45. It killed. They laughed so hard and they didn't care that they didn't eat. And they just got drunker. And then they said, come get drunk with us. And we said, we got an early flight. Just went back to our hotel room. Just went, what the hell happened there? So, yeah, it's those kind of shows that hone you into a different performer altogether.
Yeah. An early flight, and by the looks of it, one of you might have to be the pilot. So it's good that you didn't drink.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, one time, somebody else did a show on that same flight, but it was a different thing. And she was so hungover when she got on the flight, the flight attendant goes, "Oh, honey, oh, you were drinking all night with, the gas workers, were you? Here, honey." And she takes the emergency oxygen bottle and straps it on and turns it on. And she has the pass. She sits down and goes, "Hey, this really helps." Just suck pure oxygen back to Vancouver.
So I love that your X-Files show was really stringing those short form games kind of together to create the narrative in a way that made sense. I love that because most of the time when people are putting a long form show together or a themed show together, it's going to look more like a Herald or more like something like that than that. And I initially trained short form and have done long form since. I mean, I'm a fan of both, but I love that you're doing that. And the other thing I would say about that is I don't know what's going on in Canada, but our moving body scenes usually ended with a fight, not with urination. So I don't know how they're teaching it up there.
Solo, you have no one to fight with other than yourself.
Oh,
so,
right.
So
I got
it
you. Yeah.
You and your hands by your groin somewhere. And so that's the difference. Because all of those games that I mentioned, the other person needs no training.
Right.
You can drive it. You do all the justifications. You can control that other person in various ways and dial it back or advance narrative any way you want. So you have ultimately the most control, but it's also the most amount of work. So, none of these, you couldn't have a couple beers before any of these shows because you had to be so on top of how drunk is that guy? Because I can't be drunk. And if we're both drunk, there's no show, right? So you stay alcohol free, and that guy is going to be a problem. And so because of that narrative, you had the ability to outthink that guy. And if he was trying to screw you over and F with you and stuff like that, it just made it funnier. I mean, I was in Boca Raton or Coconut Grove in Florida at a comedy club there. And they said, "Oh, you want to do 5 minutes?" I said, "Sure." And so I did a sound effect scene. And just to the right of the stage, because it was a low stage, so everybody could see this guy. His back was to the wall, sort of bald-headed guy, but he was laughing at everything, having a great time. And I asked for 2 microphones. And I go, "Sir, what do you do?" He goes, "I'm an accountant for Bacardi rum." Like, oh my God, you got the dream job of the lifetime. Yeah, all the rum is free, everybody. You drink Bacardi. And so I gave him the microphone to do sound effects. And he was suddenly in heaven. He was having the greatest time. He's laughing at his own sound effects. And then he's doing the mime, like, "Okay, I'm in my car." Like he's doing, and it just made me laugh. And then the crowd just got lost in this guy and just the amount of joy and booze this guy had was like unbelievably magical. And it was like, I basically, the headliner asked the opener to do another 10 just to calm the crowd down, because the fall of that was like kind of annihilating for some of the headliners at the time.
Yeah.
Which is why basically I started headlining myself, because to middle that show, you would like, it kind of stop everything and get everybody yelling too. So then the headliner would think everybody's heckling, even though they're shouting out suggestions.
Yeah.
But you rile the crowd up to be hecklers.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, no, I've trained them to shout out random stuff that I can incorporate in my show, right?
Yeah.
But they hear it differently. So yeah, you couldn't really be opener or middler on that. It had to be the X-Files. It had to be, here's the guy from the X-Files. Then the show had to be, here's an improvised episode of the X-Files.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. So it went like that.
Let me change gears a little bit and we'll see how many of these I get through. So these are just questions I like to ask everybody, just because I find them interesting. I don't know if anybody else does. But Dean, how do you get into the proper headspace to play?
Oh, by not thinking about it. Uniquely, theater sports often just is chatting around the green room before we all run on stage. People from Vancouver often alarm other improvisers in that they'll sit and just be reading a newspaper with their legs crossed seconds before they're due. And nobody does zip, zap, zoop, or any circle warm-ups or whatever. They're just clearing the mind so that you are at the space where your mind and your mouth are at the exact same frequency.
Yeah.
So that alarms many improvisers around the world that I've worked with, for sure. It's like, oh, let's warm up. No, I'm warm. I think I'm good. I'm ready to go. No. We got to ding, bang, boom, and say words across to each other. I'm like, seems like a waste of my energy, frankly.
You save that for the stage.
Yeah, right. Wait till people are in front of me, then I'll find that energy.
Do you have a favorite get for, a favorite ask?
And I really like to mix them up, particularly doing one-man improv. It sort of becomes like how I think some mind readers are. You kind of know what the audience is going to say. What's a kitchen utensil? You know you're going to get spatula, more or less. What's a doctor, proctology? You're always going to get a proctologist. So those kind of things tend to make me back off from asking for those. But for a favorite, well, when I would do the sound effect scene for the X-Files thing, I'd always want some weird alien monster. So I go, shout out any animal. And everybody would shout out, but I pick out like 3. So I go, oh, monkey, kangaroo, zebra. So this is a hybrid monkey kangaroo zebra. And then make the guy do the voice. Oh my gosh, it's a monkey kangaroo zebra. Listen to the terrible sound it makes. And the guy go, yeah, like whatever, right? And it get a huge laugh. So I often just said, shout out any animal, and then take 3 or 4 of them and make a hybrid alien monster.
Nice. I just talked with a friend of mine, and this, I think, would be more appropriate for the napkin ring toilet paper days. But he said his favorite get for was, is the window open or closed?
Oh, yeah. That's pretty good.
That's it. So, all right, Adam. I'm
in.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because Patty Stiles does a neat one where she goes, okay, I'm in a room. What room I'm in? Living room. And over here, what's on this wall? A painting. And then she would sort of build the environment first, have the audience sort of build it, and then go, okay, we'll begin. And then you know that you have these elements and everybody didn't have to like, oh, what mime did somebody just do or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So by building a scenario or a set, basically, imaginary set, and having all the performers see that, it was like, oh, well, that saved us a lot of hassle, didn't it?
Yeah.
So that was kind of a cool way to start a scene too.
Yeah, that's fun. Letting the audience scene paint for you instead of doing it yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a lot of pressure off.
Do you have a least favorite suggestion to receive?
No, even if they want you to be an animal, because the physicality of the animal, that's fun. I guess I just steer away from, again, proctologist and those things. And we used to do accent coaster, and you get different countries and stuff like that. But then you'd fall into just basic stereotypes of the country and not really develop a character or a narrative or anything like that. So those I tend to stay away from, for sure. Because I love narrative short form too.
Yeah.
And so if you get something where it's just like, oh, I'm John Wayne. Well, yeah. well, how much of a narrative can John Wayne build with your John Wayne impersonation?
Yeah.
It's sort of the Family Guy. Remember when Family Guy started an improv group? And it was just like, I'm John Wayne. Just doing it over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there anything when you were in Vancouver starting out, or even anything that you recurred a lot for no apparent reason? I feel like we got bowling a lot for a while when I was in Florida, little things like that. Anything that was just, you were over because it was just the frequency of getting it so often?
Yeah. Chainsaw, believe it or not. And in fact, one time I was at a club in New Westminster, like a suburb of Vancouver, and they go, ladies and gentlemen, and I was doing 20 open middler or something. And so I wasn't improvising. I was actually doing written material that I had from long ago. And I come on stage, and even before I open my mouth to say, hey, it's great to be here or anything, guy in the theater in the dark yells, chainsaw. Like, what? And then he goes, yeah, you remember, I was at a theater about a year and a half ago. I yelled chainsaw. And now he's yelling it again when I'm doing stand-up for no apparent reason. Not connected. He just recognized me and he remembered that he yelled chainsaw at me a year and a half earlier. It was like, oh my God, you people. So dumb. Threw me right off. It threw me off for my written material.
Well, yeah, because now you have to do material about a chainsaw. I mean, that's the rules,
or
right?
like explain why this idiot is yelling chainsaw at me. That's an unusual heckle. I'll tell you what.
Now I know what I'm going to shout the next time I feel the urge to heckle.
You just
What?
thought you had to add that. Yeah. That helped the show so much. Did last time.
Do you have a favorite way to burn a suggestion that doesn't inspire you?
Not a favorite way. Normally it's off the top because other stuff will develop. So if you just open with something that's like, but to say not inspired by, it's then thinking that I have a goal in mind, right? So if I get something that goes, oh, I got this idea for a scene, and then they yell that and go, well, that doesn't really fit into my idea of the scene. Throw out your idea of the scene because that's not improv. You are trying to shoehorn in some things people are saying into something you want to accomplish and like wipe all that from your mind, mister. Let that first thing out of that person's mouth be the randomizer that takes you on the roller coaster ride, not drive just down the single lane highway to a city that you know is over there somewhere. It's a completely different mindset for sure.
Yeah. You talked to this a little bit already, but what do you look for in an audience volunteer? Other than the drunkest person out there.
Other than drunkenness, I'm not looking for drunkenness. To tell you the truth, I'm not. Generally, what I'm looking for mostly is, well, each scene is different, but I'm looking for the person who's not making eye contact with me. Clearly, they know that this is participatory all of a sudden. So they're like, oh, God, I don't want to go on stage. And that reluctance sometimes leads to, you go to hell, you don't touch me. And other times, oh, okay. And that nervous energy really brings out unusual things that's really fun to play with. And so for a lot of them, it's ones who aren't looking at me. For other ones, for Mulder, I always bring like somebody older who's in his maybe a suit or tie. But that screwed up in me in Utah because I brought him up and I go, hey, Mulder, we start the scene and he's retired, but he's got a tie on. And I go, Mulder, tell me why you've come here. And I hand him a sentence from the pile on the floor, right? Because I've collected the sentences from the audience, put them in a pile on the floor. Either one of us can read these out loud. And I go, Mulder, he hasn't picked one up yet. So what does this say? Tell me what you've been thinking. And he opens and goes, blah, 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 blah. I go, it doesn't say that. It says, I like little boys. Like, that gets a huge laugh. During the laugh, he puts his hand over the microphone and goes, I'm illiterate. So I had to his mouth and my mouth at the same time, right? So it's like, Mulder, remember when you said to me, you said, I have no pants. That was the first thing when like all that. And then I said to you, the thing is like, blah, blah, blah. And then you said, so I had to drive it like that. But then he started really enjoying being in the scene. And he takes the microphone and he goes, you must be referring to my wooden leg. And he hits his right leg and it goes thunk, thunk, thunk. So Of all the one-legged illiterate people I had to pull up on stage for one of the hardest scenes in Utah, I picked that guy. It's like, oh my God. So what I don't look for is an illiterate one amputee. Is that a good answer? It happens. You still work with it.
That's just a bonus. Just when it happens. Yeah. The only thing that would have made that better is he was also blind.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that I would have noticed, I think. It's hard to notice illiteracy and amputeeism from the stage. Yeah.
Dean, do you have an onstage persona? How is onstage Dean different than everyday Dean?
You dial up the energy a little bit, but that's about it. Because, I know early on when I was doing clubs and there was still smoking allowed, and my high energy act would get it so that I was breathing in so much smoke that I lose my voice by moving people. It was like the air, because I would be looking and it would just be a cloud of cigarette smoke at the light level.
Yeah.
And I had long hair, so all that smoke would get in my hair, and I would just go to bed smelling like an ashtray. That energy I had to sort of dial back from my own actual real energy. So my stage persona, oddly enough, slightly less energetic than I am in real life.
How would you describe your relationship with the audience?
Well, depending on how drunk they are, if it's a bar crowd, you come into it sort of with the swagger of, and often I would feel this in northern British Columbia, that after you killed at a show, it felt like you were in a really good bar fight and you had cleaned everybody's clock, sort of thing. Because they're like, oh my God, my cheeks hurt. I've never laughed so hard. I doubled over. And like you get all these compliments from these big burly guys that you didn't think would laugh that much, right? Nor did they. Oh my God, when you brought Doug up on stage, I almost puked. My beer came out my nose, like that stuff. You go, oh, okay, that's the kind of compliments. So that energy coming into a bar crowd, you kind of have to have. If you're coming in going, hi everybody, we're gonna do a little show. To be like, get that guy, right? You kind of have to like, okay, this is going to be a bar fight, but it's going to be done with comedy and improv, and we're going to win. So here we go, because we're trained at it, and you don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that energy changed a bit over time, but often if you had, particularly your 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock show, 1 a.m. shows, where there would be that kind of energy, you kind of have to have your ability to have hecklers turn on each other. I had that ability a lot of time. So I just stop and then two drunk guys would just yell at each other across my show. And you're like, well, I love it when the crowd heckles each other. It's so hilarious. And yeah, so you had to maintain a bit of animosity, but you did it with joy and love. But there was always this edge,
Yeah,
for sure, of like, okay, we're doing this, and it's gonna kill, and you're gonna laugh really hard, probably harder than you ever laughed before. So here we go. And then that's kind of the attitude. I stopped performing because I realized that's a bit of a terrible way to go about it. It will wear you down after a while. And also, I realized I was a laugh junkie. I wasn't like Billy Crystal said when he was doing impressions. His agent said, and you have to give him a little tip. Tell him about your personal life. Do some jokes about who you are, sort of thing. And so this is like, I'm from Canada, but my mother's Irish and my dad's German, which means I like to drink in a prison camp or whatever. Everybody had some sort of joke like that. And I never wanted to, I was kind of like, I'm already on TV. My computer's being hacked all the time. My privacy is shut all to hell. The last thing I would do is talk about my life on stage with a bunch of strangers for jokes.
yeah.
I just want to get laughs. And the easiest way to do that is one-man improv. And I'm a laugh junkie. And so once I got over that addiction, then I didn't really want to do one-man improv anymore. And which worked out because then I would have been BoJack Horseman. I was on a show in the 90s. Like, oh.
What inspires you on stage?
I love it when somebody I bring up actually does something improvisationally brilliant. Like, I'm like, oh, like it makes me stop and turn to the person and go, oh, you know what? If this was a workshop or a class or if you were on stage with a bunch of other improvisers, everybody would go, oh, well done. That's pretty good, mister. Because I know there's a podcast out there with a couple guys, and one of them I had brought up for sound effects. And he said he went out of his way to do the wrong sound effect for every suggestion I was putting out there. Like the phone's ringing, and he make a stupid sound. And that made the show funnier, believe it or not. And they talked about that on the podcast of like how I seem to enjoy that guy screwing around with me even more. And the fact is I did, because of like, oh, that's unusual. That's something I don't do every night on stage. And so it made every show completely different. And that's kind of what I like a lot.
That goes back to the your scene partner being on all fours and you saying get into my office versus it's that thing, yeah.
That thing, yeah. Where he's like, oh my gosh, the shower. Let me turn on the shower. Drip, drip. Oh, I didn't pay the water bill. Like whatever, right? Like the making like stupid or suggestions of like, oh, you don't have a shower, or trying to negate or sideways or deflect or something like that. And then I have to work really hard to justify it to bring it back, sort of thing. So it becomes this kind of like swirly roller coaster ride of a scene.
Yeah.
As they F around. Or a drunk guy from Bacardi's who's just in love and doing all the mime poorly as well. That's hilarious.
Is there anything that would shut you down or take you out of it on stage other than someone shouting chainsaw?
There's a couple of people who like mid go, I don't want to do this. And then they just walk off. And they go, hey man, I don't want to do this either. I'm just entertaining you. I'm not being entertained by myself here. So way to ruin it for everybody, mister. I hope you remember this as a moment of shame for yourself.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I know. I would like, okay, if you don't want to be in your community, perhaps you should move to another city if you're not digging this, right? And they're like, shut up. So I would bring in the idea of what community and what a communal experience is, and what the reason you don't want to do this is you don't want to be connected to everybody around you. So go live in a cave or go to hell, like one of those things, right?
I think you've already spoke to this, but in your estimation, what makes a good scene partner?
Having performed together for 30 years makes a great scene partner.
Yeah.
Because then you've gone through everything. You've gone through hell gigs and back, and done some terrible shows and done some amazing shows and so on and so forth. But your scene partner, even if they're not really open to the idea of a wild roller coaster ride, but want to drive to that city over there that they have sort of pre-planned, you can still jam with them a bit. Just I get disappointed going, no, oh, you really want to drive this over there? Okay, well, we'll go. But I think, down that alley would have been something fantastic if you just took that left turn, right?
Yeah.
And you keep that disappointment to yourself, more or less. But it's happened for sure in various countries where I've lived and jammed with improv groups. So it depends also on the culture and stuff like that and how they were trained, for sure.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite type of character to play?
When I had the long hair, I could do like drugged out, almost Christopher Lloyd kind of things. And those were fun to do because they were just, you didn't really have to think that hard. And then, do I have a favorite though? Not really. I got the Stern guy, the trucker guy, the coach, and then myself, the cook, the artist, all of that stuff. And then the super in tune psychiatrist, like, oh, I know how you're feeling, man. And like, that California vibey thing. But there's no favorite. I try also, bring different elements into it. And then sometimes it's just an extension of me sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
if you could do a scene with anyone alive, who would it be? It doesn't have to be the only person, but if you were going to pick one.
I was jamming with Dan Castanella, who does the voice of Homer, for a while. I was invited to this kind of, you could bring in ideas of screenplays you were working on, and then have a Second City alumni kind of reenact your scenes, and you could record it and then use the lines they came up with for your screenplays. So Dan would often be in some of those things that I have. And I always loved improvising with him because he rarely broke character. And there was a scene called A Town Called Tom or something. I forget how it goes. But basically each scene has the information for the next scene, and it's a small town. So basically everybody knows everybody. So you don't come in going, hey, who are you? And you just come in and go, oh, hey, Bob, is your wife out of jail yet? And you can just throw in and just build the offers. So it's like, yeah, she's now working with the construction crew over at the high rise. And then the next scene's at the high rise, and she's like, stealing from everybody's lunch bucket or whatever, right? So you could just
Yeah,
build
yeah.
like that. And then it has to come back to the very first scene. So all the performers get to do a scene, and then it has to somehow, me and Dan had to come back after this crazy ride. And that was the only time I saw him actually lose it on stage and laugh hysterically at the predicament that we were in. And it was like such a joy because you always think, oh, I never see Dan laugh that much. He's like, he likes improvising, but he never like improvises to a point where he loses it. And it was one of the few times I saw him do that. It was like, oh, I'd do that again with him to see him do that. That's funny.
If you could do a scene with anyone in the pantheon of people who have gone before and are no longer with us from any era, who would you do a scene with?
I think it'd be Buster Keaton, frankly, because his training of this violent physical comedy from the age of 4. Do you know much about his vaudeville days?
No.
He was born in 1889 to parents that had a dance act. And then when he was about 4, his dad incorporated him into the show. They had 2 shows because the first one was so violent, the town would call the police to say, come watch the show. This man's abusing the small child on stage. And Buster Keaton had a handle, as his wardrobe had a handle in his spine because his dad would just pick him up and throw him across the stage and just get this kid out of here. Like he had this antagonistic relationship to this fun little kid who wanted to dance with mom and dad trying to be a serious actor go, nah, this kid, and just whip him across the stage. And they had like bits where apparently dad would be at the front doing a monologue, and Buster Keaton would be on a table and he'd have 100-pound bag of flour on the end of a rope. And he starts swinging it behind him and it would come inches from the back of his head, but the rope wasn't long enough. So then he would slowly climb down the table, push it a few more inches forward, get back on the table and keep swinging, building this tension up over and over until technically dad was supposed to turn around, catch him, and then throw him into the wings again, right? Except one time it connected and it knocked his dad out unconscious on stage. Flour exploded. And then Buster looked, kept a deadpan, no shock or anything, and just started dancing on the table till his dad came to. Like, you think, holy smoly. And his movies up until he signed with Paramount, or he did sign with Paramount, were unscripted. They were all improvised. He told the cameraman, just keep rolling while I find these physical comedy moments over and over again. And so his early silent stuff, a lot of it is just him exploring character, but all in deadpan, but deep physical comedy. And he knew his gags, his vaudeville gags. And so I would love to have improvised with him and see that training from a 4-year-old doing a violent mom and dad act that was like, holy smokes. That to me is as fascinating an upbringing as doing logging and mining towns in northern British Columbia, doing that.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, holy smokes. And you see it. And his dad said, don't laugh, don't smile, just keep it deadpan. It's funnier that way. Because if you are relaying any expression or any emotion, the audience will then go, oh, that's how we're supposed to feel about the scene. Like, oh, but if you just are deadpan, they will put the horror and the laughter and the surprise and the shock, they'll mask that onto you. And it was so true. And so there's a rare audio cassette, I know I have it somewhere, of him speaking, and he's at a party with a ukulele, and he's singing all these songs, and he knows all these vaudeville gags and acts and stuff like that. And he's just sort of entertaining a crowd at a Hollywood party. And somebody recorded it. And it's so fascinating because he's a lively, funny, he's got a pretty good singing voice, even though it's gravelly. He can play the ukulele. So he was a great guy. But to see him just on doing the deadpan Buster Keaton and knowing that he was improvising most of that up until he had to give scripts to Paramount was pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. Violent Mom and Dad Act, also a great Herald team name.
It is too, isn't it? Violent Mom. And mom would sing in between these violent spots, right? So the mom would come on singing and be shocked and like trying to cover this family trauma. So that made it seem more real that there really was a dysfunction going on in this family. And they made Buster shave his head back and put on a fake beard to look just like his dad. His dad was balding and had a black beard under here. So they both it looked like a 3-foot version of his dad. And that they were trying to kill each other was hilarious.
You said they had 2 acts. The other act was for when the police were there to watch?
Yeah, so they toned it down a bit and they just did, the tap dancing and singing and the Shakespeare monologues kind of thing. And so cut out and he didn't wear the suit with the handle on the back. So dad couldn't pick him up. He would do W.C. Fields just sort of push him with his foot, and then he would stumble back a bit. But that's where he learned to take a fall and do tumbling, and said in the afternoon, dad would put out the mats and they'd learn somersaults and stuff like that. So it was all safe and it was all trained, but it looked super violent. And the way he portrayed it was like, oh my God, this guy is going to murder his son in front of us, not realizing that it was, they do that in every city until the police show up and then they tone it way down.
If you could do a scene then with anyone fictional, who would you choose?
Probably Doctor Who. You watch Doctor Who at all?
I'm not caught up. So I fell off the train a while ago, but I've seen Doctor Who. Yeah.
Yeah. And Peter Giraldi was my, I think, best one. But I would think Doctor Who would probably be a good improviser because most of the intergalactic crises require a huge amount of thinking on your feet and improvisational know-how. So not that I would want to improvise. What's the reason to have an intergalactic crisis? I don't know. It would need to be the ask for, but yeah, as a fictional character, I would think that guy has some thoughts and seen some things and would bring things to a scene that would be pretty incredible.
Yeah, a couple lifetimes of experience at least.
Yes, exactly. Yes, multiple dimensions and parallel universes.
Now, I don't know how much when you're at the bars you had tech support, but in Vancouver or wherever else, what would be most helpful from the booth?
Oh, well, we had Laura Skelton, who had this was pre-digital. So she had all these cassette tapes and she would throw in, and she took the doors off the cassette player so that she could just slap them in instantly. And she would be so fast. She would be as fast as we were on stage in terms of intro and outro music. And I know one where it was a scene with a butcher, and I think it was somebody's story, like a story of like they had a local butcher who was crazy and angry, sort of like the soup Nazi, but a butcher, and everybody was scared of him. And so we were going to recreate the scene, and the lights go down. I run up, and we had a prop of a click-on, strap-on, giant bloody axe that looks inserted into your spine, right? So I run up as I'm talking to Mike Black, who's going to be the angry butcher. And I say, follow me out the door. The lights go down. I think Laura sees me putting this thing on. She puts on psycho screechy music. As the lights come up, the door opens. I fall face down with the knife in the axe in my back, and he comes out crazy. It's like the amazing confluence, like we rehearsed it, and it was like it happened within not even a second and a half. So yeah, shout out to Laura Skelton. I don't think she's at Theater Sports anymore. She's probably graduated to more advanced digital technology. She was on a corporate event where it was supposed to be like a murder mystery, and the guy comes out with the gun that had blanks in it, but the gun jammed and misfired. So it was like, I'm going to get you, and then pulling, and he only pulled maybe twice before she realized and put a gunshot sound effects in the cassette, like instantly. And nobody knew that there was a technical failure at all except us. Like, oh, way to save the show, Laura. You earned your paycheck there.
Is there anything that the booth could offer that would, the way I had this phrase is what's least helpful from the booth, if anything?
I think silence is the only thing I find so unhelpful. It's like, well, you really just depending on the performers to bring the energy up in the audience, right? Because that was the thing about the Back Alley Theater in Vancouver. I think that helped us by 50% was a thrust stage with 75 seats to your left and to your right with the booth dead center. So if you're in the center of the stage and it's a thrust stage, if you stand right in the corner, you have a direct eye to the booth only 10 steps up, but you have 75 people on your right and left. So you get this stereophonic laughter coming at you. And somebody told me years later that the way the seating was, it was cement steps all the way up. And then there were cushions on those steps. And then in between each cushion, there was a metal armrest that went up to about your shoulder height. And then all those 10 seats across shared a common leather backrest. So it was all sewn together like curves. So each in between each of the two armrests, it's sort of slotted over top, right? Over those metal poles. Because it was a metal, like 2-inch pole, basically shaped as an armrest, bolted into the cement, and then went up to your shoulders. And then they slipped a leather backrest over it. But they were all connected. So if one guy laughed really hard forward and then kicked back, the other 9 would be thrust forward, even if they're not laughing. And then they're going, what the hell? And so you'd kind of have like this 4D amusement ride in this theater just watching improv. And so once that started rocking everybody started laughing all the more. And so once your booth is putting high energy music and sound effects into that, you had like this unbelievable experience of
Yeah.
just, I still think I have ringing in my ears by how loud the laughter was in that place.
Well, speaking of, other than laughter, what audience sound do you revel in?
We like doing endowments where everybody goes ooh and ah. If you get close,
Yeah,
go
yeah.
ooh and ah. And they're always like, sometimes you are too clever times 2, and the audience doesn't realize you just gave a clue. And so you'll only hear 2 people go, ooh. And that always made me laugh. It's like, oh, I should not make it so obscure, this clue, so that only 2 people recognize what I'm talking about.
Hey, that was just for them.
Exactly. Yeah, can't entertain everybody.
Is there a type or quality of laughter that you appreciate more than others?
No, as a laugh junkie, it was just uncontrollable and top volume. And, about 3 years in a row, I got a Christmas card because one woman, I was performing at the Queen Mary, of all things, in Long Beach. And a woman stood up in the middle of one of my beds and I go, like, I'm setting up the next scene. I go, where are you going? Oh, I'm laughing so hard I have to go to the bathroom. I go, oh yeah, please do not pee your pants. And I got to laugh, right? And then she leaves and I go, are you related to her? Like I talked to the 2 people beside her and goes, oh yeah, that's our grandma. So she comes back and go, oh, how are you, Grandma Pee Pee Pants? Gets a huge laugh. And so for the next 3 years, I got a Christmas card from Grandma Pee Pee Pants, signed from Grandma Pee Pee Pants. It's like, now the whole family calls her that.
Someday it'll be on her tombstone.
Totally. I'm Grandma Pee Pee Pants.
Here lies, yeah. Is there any sound that the audience could make or that would come from the audience that would make you uncomfortable?
No. In Melbourne one time, I got some really odd suggestion. So I did this elaborate bowling scene that wasn't getting laughs, but it was just building so that when they got the trophy for was what the actual shout came from the audience, right? And it was such a long way to get to such a stupid joke that the crowd went, "Wah!" I go, you loved it. Shut up. But it was like, like I wasn't ashamed about it. I owned it and made it funnier. But yeah, it was like, oh yeah, you hate getting groans for sure.
This is one you may have answered already, but what is the worst venue you've played?
Oh, one here in Dearborn one time. It wasn't even it was a basement that had a vinyl curtain cutting the room in half. It was like a ballroom with just fold out chairs. And the stage was only like 3 feet by 4 feet. So it was hard to do I could, like, you can quell your improv down to just standing there, basically. And then Mulder just stands beside you, and that's about it, right? But yeah, the vinyl divider of the room, and I think the back of the room like had shuffleboards, like so it was like some senior center or something. And the guy was trying to start a comedy room there, and he flew me in. This was before I was living here, and some friends of mine came and said, "Oh man, that was a weird venue. It was like a basement, one spotlight." And the woman I brought up was a nurse, so she was really touchy feely, almost to because she was doing my arms, so she was like groping me and stuff like that. And the husband was there, not laughing at all, at all. And I go, "Hi, I bet you two do that at home." And there was just silence. Like, okay, moving on to that dysfunctional relationship. Okay, let's talk about something else. So yeah, that was a terrible venue, but there's been some real rough ones. Plus, I've done outdoor improv at like comedy festivals, in Bristol Comedy Festival, and yeah, there's been some where I've just turned white as a sheet, going, I'm not, doing street busking as an improviser is terrible because you got to go, hey, what's a reason you're going to stick around to watch this show? Like, oh, yeah, I don't have one either, actually. Funny you should ask. Yeah.
New favorite get.
Yeah, exactly. What's a reason to stick around?
What's the best note or the best words of wisdom you've received?
Can't think of anybody saying one thing that sparked a revolution per se. I know there was one scene early on when you're just up and coming and suddenly you're playing main stage on a Saturday night. You feel like, oh, I shouldn't plow over these hilarious improvisers with, my ideas. And then in the postmortem, because we'd always review the scenes that we did afterwards in the green room. And somebody said, Haglund, the onus was on you to make that next offer. And like, damn it, I had an offer too. Why didn't I say something? I didn't say something for the only reason that I was in awe of all these performers, as opposed to, what they like? Somebody giving offers instead of just standing there like an idiot. And so that was one that was like, oh, okay, right. Now I'm on this. I better pile on the goods and not just sit here going, oh, I'm so lucky to be on main stage.
Yeah.
Like you bring stuff to it now. Yeah.
The opposite side of that is what is the least helpful note you've received? Or if you haven't really gotten one, what's the least helpful note you can conceive of?
Be funnier. That's the worst. Hey, could you be funnier? No, what it's not even that you're trying to be funny in the first place. You like, for my mind, it's like you're trying to find a narrative and play some reality to a scene.
Yeah.
And so if you're not grounded in a character trying to play a reality to your narrative, it's not necessarily going to be funny because there's nothing for the audience to hang on to, right? Just standing around going blah blah blah. It's not hilarious. So be funnier. I don't know if I've ever got that note per se. I know a director said do that scene better, but that was he was also joking. And then we actually worked out what he meant. But he said, "Cut, Dean, do that scene better, please." And we both laughed. It's like, oh yeah, that's pretty funny. But yeah, I think be funnier is the worst.
If there were an Academy Awards for everything improv, what would you be nominated for?
I never think about superlatives in that way. It's sort of like yoga. I don't know if you knew this, but in California, they were going to do the Yoga Olympics. And it's like, and there was an outrage because yoga is a personal practice of centering. And it's not about how flexible I am or can I touch my feet to the back of my head or how, and this is what the Yoga Olympics would be. This would be like, who's the stretchiest? Who can do the farthest warrior pose and stuff like that. And it's like, that's the antithesis to yoga. And so giving awards to improv, to me, would be the antithesis to improv. Improv is like a personal journey into your own expression of mind and what comes out. My ex-wife used to not like coming to improv because she would see what was going on in my mind and what was coming out on stage and going, oh yeah, that's a lot of the conflict we're having. She would recognize that as I would do scenes of conflict with, on stage sort of thing, going, oh yeah, that's sort of something we were discussing. And you brought it out on stage in a art form, but it's disturbing. And that sort of was the catharsis of doing improv in the first place, of things going on in you personally that you can bring out on stage. And so if I were to get an award for that, I'd be highly disturbed. Please do not award that psychosis right there.
This one is kind of related, I guess, but it's, if you're remembered 100 years from now for something improv related, what would you want it to be?
I guess the one-man improv thing was pretty unique. I don't think anybody was doing that when I started in, what was it? My Fresno show, X-Files started in 93, so 94. And I don't think some people were doing two-man improv at theaters, but a lot of people didn't even know what improv was back in that day. So to be that innovator of a one-man improv show when it was a completely unknown art form still, probably that's a good thing to be known for 100 years from now.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and this is the last one. Is there anything I missed, or are there any other improv stories that you love to tell?
Oh, I got a million improv stories. Don't kid yourself. Could be here all afternoon. I was in Tel Aviv about to do a one-man show, and the woman who's going to introduce me goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got to stop you. There was a bombing at a cafe. I just got to." I'm like, "Oh, well, that's a great way to start a comedy show." And she comes out, and in English, she says, "Oh, I'm sorry, there was a bombing at the cafe 2 blocks from here." And everybody goes, "Ah, we know, we got the text. Come on, bring on Dean. We want to laugh." It's like, oh yeah. They're so used to like, oh yeah, bombings happen all the time. And it was like, oh, that didn't bring the crowd down. There was no. They were like, oh, now let's celebrate. Let's celebrate the comedy. And it was a killer show. But it was so weird to be introduced like, oh, by the way, the bomb went off at a cafe 3 blocks from here. It's like, oh my God, how are we going to continue? You can't, like, there's no way nobody's, it's like 9/11, right? It's like, who wants to do comedy after 9/11? Except when The Daily Show did it. And I was booked to do Kansas City, headline in Kansas City that week when all the flights were canceled. And he said, well, you will get here. I guess the planes will start flying Thursday, Friday, but I was supposed to do the whole week. And I go, do you want to cancel or you want to go? And I'm like, I guess we cancel because like if the planes don't fly Friday, then I'm just doing like I'm flying in Saturday, do 3 shows and then fly out. And then every other comedian who was touring said that that week was the best shows ever because so many people wanted to laugh. They came to laugh. Everybody had coalesced as a community. So there was no antagonistic heckling or anything like that. It was just these amazing comedy relief.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I should have done those 3 shows Saturday in Kansas City. I was so stupid. But yeah, that story of like the importance of comedy and community. And you kind of forget that when you're just goofing around improvising, that it's like, oh, there's something cathartic to it, like yoga.
Is that why you started having the MC deliver some terrible news before your set?
Yeah. Okay. How would you like me to introduce you? Oh, could you say there was a bombing? Oh, and I'm from the X-Files, by the way. Add that too.
Those 2 things. Just
Those
that.
2 things. The whole people are dead by a terrorist act. And by the way, here's Dean Haglund. Yeah.
You can choose the order, but just get them out there.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. No, I don't have everybody introduce me like that. Funny if I did, though.
That's it for this wonderful trip with Dean Haglund. Find his podcast, find me on Patreon for bonus stuff, and come back for the next Improv Autopsy. Thanks for listening.